Alright, so this video is going to be different than what I usually do. It's not going to be like a dungeon run or anything like that. I'm just going to be talking about a few things, my opinions on Or Kingdom, where the game's going and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, then I guess stick around, but it's probably not going to be anything too exciting going on. But anyway, so probably to start off with why I've been sort of inactive lately. It's been probably a few months where I haven't really been compelled to play the game at all. Um, even before recently I wasn't running dungeons very much. I think I was around, like 70, 78, 79 for a while. And I probably would have been 80, like, pretty fast if I was actually enjoying the game and running dungeons as much as I used to. So some of it is definitely because I was getting bored with the game and, feeling like I completed most of it and stuff like that. But recently there has also been a lot of, content that I was really worried about coming. Like the Greatsword patch specifically. And it really turned me off from playing the game. Um, it's like the start of X Legend just adding in broken things for you to blow money on and make the game easier. But first of all, my opinion on Greatsword class, I really don't like it, cause well, first of all, it's a broken class that's way too easy to use. And I mean, I know saying that as someone who played Ravager a lot, it kind of sounds weird, but I was never a fan of like the Ravager buff before it was nerfed. I always thought it was too broken and too easy. So I appreciated the nerf. I think they could have handled it differently, but at least post nerf it was a bit more reasonable compared to the other classes and took some sort of effort or like quote unquote skill to use. But Greatsword just like chunks bosses and a couple key presses, and as long as your gear is good, you pretty much just destroy everything, and there's like no drawback to the class. And then there's the fact that it's there as a subclass too. You could sub it on any class, plus 20 a sub weapon, and do more damage than even your main class skills, which is annoying to me. Because one of the things that made AK so great is like having so many choices that were all, relatively close to optimized. And it's just up to your preference. Like I could be duelist sub or gunslinger sub or bard sub or whatever the hell you want, as long as you enjoy it and it's all pretty reasonable. But having Greatsword there is just like, why would you not sub the class if you can just press one button and do half the boss's health? It's like, I I like the way how Ravager worked as a sub because, at least there was the rage bar, and if you wanted to use the class skills, it was like a drawback because then you couldn't use your main class skills. So it wasn't like, oh, you have to use even though Ravager main class was broken, you wouldn't have to like use Ravager as a subclass if you wanted to deal good damage. It was like fairly well balanced. But Greatsword you can just slap on any class and it really doesn't, there's no like, you have to charge it up because the the bar charges automatically. It's not like you have to waste time using it. But anyways, that's my opinion on Greatsword. The other big thing that came with the patch was accessory fortification. And before that, there was like sort of a balance between blinding element or blinding accessories and element accessories. You know, like blinding was decent because of the move speed and the stats it gave you. It was like you could main it, but you would lose out on some DPS if you didn't swap to elements. But now if you say you like get blinding set to around plus 15 fortification, there's really no point to swapping elements anymore. You know, you get more move speed, which cuts down on movement time. You get more damage, which reduces the advantage you would get from swapping elements. You get a ton more HP, which means you can group mobs up and like tank them really easily compared to before. And by the time you reach around plus 18, you can pretty much throw out your element accessories because they're useless. So, like, what fun is it if you don't get rewarded for like doing extra things like swapping elements? You could argue before that like swapping elements wasn't worth it, or like you cut off a few seconds on bosses, but you know, it's a casual game and who cares and all that. But at least, you know, at least you had the option, and now it's just like there's no point to it. Like you don't get anything for doing more work. It's like it's discouraged and it's becoming linear. You just have to plus 20 stuff and use one set, and I don't know, it's not going in a good direction. For some context, it would probably be good to understand why I liked the game so much before. Like I mentioned earlier, a nice part of the game was being able to, you know, do things how you wanted to and not, you know, be far from, you know, not be like underpowered compared to somebody else. And that extends to stuff, not just like subclasses, but, you know, your gear choices too. Like, you had Lethal Beast and Lion's Roar and Devour and Ambusher, and you could choose from all these different things, and you could make your build like however you wanted to. I guess not however you wanted to, but there were at least like different ways that you could be creative and stuff. You know, there's variety, and but then Sniper set kind of came around, and it was like you don't have to choose anything anymore. It's just one set, and there's nothing else that's really even close to it. So you just got to get this one set and plus 20 it, and you know, there's no choice involved anymore. I didn't mind, you know, it was just Sniper. It was like, okay, there's just this one thing. It's a little annoying, but you know, it's not too bad. But now we're looking at more stuff like accessory fortification, and which makes element accessories useless, and then broken subclassing Greatsword, making other choices look silly, and it's like free stats everywhere from Eidolon Prayer and weapon specialization, and you know, of course, there's no increased stat caps, so. But there's plenty more stupid things to come in future patches too. With the 80 gears, we have the start of piercing damage, which is basically another reduction layer, kind of like how they did starting in Frozen Lee Plains, I think the dungeon is called. I think it started there. But basically, it's just another toughness layer, and the piercing stat that you have to get to counter it will not be on blue weapons. It'll only be on the orange and gold ones, the levels 80 and 85. So you'll basically pick a single sub-weapon to craft or to get or whatever, and then use it for all the new dungeons. So there's no more element sub-swapping after that either. And for some reason they just want to kill off this like part of the game where you could be creative and, you know, do extra things and stuff. They just want to make you get one thing and like plus 20 it and have that be it. And the thing that really pisses me off is there's no reason to add a new toughness layer. It doesn't increase the difficulty. It, it just makes things longer, take longer to kill. And they did the exact same thing before. They already did it, now they're doing it again. And it's just lazy. It's a lazy way of making things quote-unquote harder. I wish they would actually design things instead of just relying on, like, oh, increasing HP or decreasing the damage you do or whatever. The only reason I can really think of them doing it is they just want people to, they don't like how you can go and use a +0 elemental sub and do like the same damage as everyone else, and there's no drawback for not +20ing your weapons. So they just want people to use one weapon, and then they'll realize, oh, well, if I'm just using one, it would probably be worth it to like +20 it, and then people will buy scrolls and stuff like that. And going with the theme of them doing things for money, we have soon after we have the Shuriken class, which pretty much just follows in the steps of Greatsword. But I think it's even more broken. I saw some videos on it, and it's like the same sort of thing, chunking bosses for half their HP, except this is in the dungeons that are like actually at your level, so it's pretty ridiculous. But so I guess they figured that, like, when you make a balanced type of class like Tachi, or you make one that isn't like as overpowered, like Necro is kind of, it's not really a great class. But then people don't rush to go and play them. Like, what they want people to do is they want people to say, oh, this is a great class, I should go play it, and craft new sets and +20 stuff and all that, and spend all this money. Like everyone freaking made a Greatsword, like, because it's so broken. They were like, oh, I want a one-shot stuff, and I want all the mobs to die in one hit. It's so cool. And what better way is there for them to make more money than to make another broken class like that? People will go out of their way to spend more money on it. And then we have the +30 fortification, which kind of, in my eyes, marks the end of this game. And it's really funny if you think about it, because they basically released the toughness layers, right? And then for some reason they're like, oh wait, we need to give you more damage now. So, like, why would you introduce this new, like, damage reduction and then give people more damage with, like, no balance? Nothing to balance it out or anything. There's no reason other than they just want your money. I thought we had too much damage already. And now I'm seeing screenshots of people with, like, max damage, and it's like, really? It's not like I think what they did is they thought of, like, oh, what would be the easiest way for us to milk some money out of this game before it dies? And they were like, okay, I have the best idea, we can just add like 10 more numbers into the fortification, put the scrolls in the cash shop, and, like, it'll be like the easiest money ever, no designing, no making skills or classes or anything. So yeah, I really don't see any other reason why they would do it other than just a quick cash grab. And it's really sad too, because one of the great aspects of this game was that you could be a free player, play a few hours a day, and with a bit of effort you could still perform as well as people who had more resources and time. Like you could get a Lion's Roar. If you were a DPS, you could get a Lion's Roar bottom set, craft a Devour top, maybe go to a few world boss spawns and plus 15 your armor with loyalty. Then you could collect element accessories and subs and stuff like that. And then you pretty much had all the tools you need to be a good DPS. You could, just after that, you could learn your mechanics and, practice a bit. Maybe run some dungeons and get some lucky drops or, like play the market to save up for sniper. And then after you have that, you're pretty much top notch at that point. But now, your DPS is going to be decided by how many things you can afford to fortify. You're going to have to like craft an accessory set, plus 20 it, plus 20 your trophies, craft a sub weapon, plus 20 it, take out some loans so you can plus 30 your weapon. It's like the OP players are going to be the ones who have a lot of money to spend, instead of the ones who take the time to learn the mechanics and put in some effort. And that's why I don't really like the direction the game is going. Anyway, that's enough about that's enough about this subject from me. I just had a few people ask things like why I haven't been active lately, or my opinion on the recent patches or where the game's heading. So hopefully it was at least interesting to listen to. I might make a few more videos after 80 gears and the new dungeons come out. But probably not too much after that. So, anyway, that's that. Thanks for watching, and I hope you're having fun on Aura Kingdom before the game kind of goes to shit.